Hi guys, it's Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, and today I am finally going to be bringing you my recap of all the books that I've read in November. You may have noticed that I did not do a mid-month recap the way I have been doing for the past couple of months, and it's because that at the time that I was supposed to film it, I just was not in a very good emotional state. I was anxious and a little bit worried, and that all had to do with the US election and all the after effects of it, and I wouldn't say that I'm like 100% peaceful about it, but I will say that I am feeling a bit more hopeful, and then I am also feeling a bit more determined to do my part and to work for the things I believe in. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that, but that is why I'm only going to be sharing one recap this month, and it's also because my reading was kind of affected by that mood anyway. So without further ado, let's get to talking about all the books that I read in the month of November, or will be reading and hopefully finishing by today, which is the last day of November. The first book that I read in the month of November is actually one of my favorite books that I've read this entire year, and that book is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, and it has this beautiful cover. This is the UK edition. I actually got it in an Illumicrate box. It's in one of my book hauls. I will link to it down below. There is this crow on the cover with all of these little illustrations in the crow. I don't know if you can see them, and then when you open it, on the inside, this is what the end papers look like, and oh my gosh, I love the flap, I just noticed that. And on the cover itself, there's an embossed version of the crow. But anyway, I have talked about what this book is about, but let me briefly summarize it. It's about a girl named Mia Corvier who at the age of 10 sees her father executed, and her mother and her infant brother are thrown into a prison. And Mia is blinded by her anger and hatred towards the people that made all these things happen, and so she decides that she's going to take revenge. She kind of spends 6 years learning from this master assassin, but then she realizes that she needs to become a master assassin herself, and in order to do so, she has to go to the Red Church, which is a school for assassins. And so that is where her adventure begins, and that is basically what is chronicled in this book. I really, really love this book. It's a bit of a slow starter. Once you get used to the style of narration, once you get used to Mia as a character, and once you get used to the way that Jay Kristoff writes, oh my goodness, you guys will love this book. It is gory, it is brutal. He definitely does not hold back when it comes to all of the things that assassins get involved in. And it's also very clever. The plotting is both Mia's story, but then it also becomes bigger than Mia's story. You meet other characters, you see other situations, you find out that it is not just about what Mia is going through and what she wants to do. There's so much more. And I really, really love that. I think like one of the things a lot of people comment on is also the fact that this book has footnotes. And the footnotes are fun to me because I love learning about the world that way. It's like a little extra tidbit, and I'm always game for that. But I can see how it might take you out of the narrative. So my idea is that if you are the type of person to get affected by that really easily, maybe you can just read the actual narrative and then go back to the footnotes later. Or if you're not, then I would suggest reading it the way I did, which is like to read the actual book, and then like whenever the footnote is indicated, check it out. So obviously I loved Mia. I thought she was such a great character. I am so excited to see how her adventure continues in the next book. I gave it a 4.75 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is a completely different genre, and that book is A Man Called Uwe by Fredrik Backman, and I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering it, which I apologize for. But anyway, this is the book about a man called Uwe, obviously, and he is pretty much determined to live like a peaceful, orderly life, and his life is turned upside down when this family moves in next door. And yeah, that's the basic premise of it. I don't really want to get into specifics because that way you guys can go into it kind of not knowing too much about it. I really love this book. This is the second novel by Fredrik Backman that I've read, although it's a third of his work since I've also read his novella. But this one is just charming. Once again, he populates it with characters that are like well-rounded and that you'll love because they're so interesting and so different. And I thought the story was really simple, and yet it really packed a punch. It kind of showed in a way how like the people around you affect your own life and how you also affect theirs in ways that you can't imagine. And I think that is like the biggest takeaway that I have from this book. I still haven't watched the movie, which I have, and you guys know I have because I put it in a book haul, which I will link down below. But I really, really enjoyed the book, and I'm so glad that I finally got into reading Fredrik Backman this year, and I can't wait to read more of his work. I still have Britt Marie was here, I think. That's the only book I have left by him that I haven't read. I can't believe that I'm on the last book from him that I haven't read. Anyway, I give this book also a 4.75 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is a book that I actually got for review, and that book is Alterations by Stephanie Scott, and this is basically a YA retelling of Sabrina. It's about a girl who she's into fashion. She runs like this fashion Instagram, and she styles her own clothes, and she actually gets to go on an internship to New York City, and obviously that's like a fashion internship. She actually lives with her mother and her grandmother in like this little house off of the house of a richer family because her grandmother is their cook and their mom helps out as well in the house. And it's like this weird combination of this girl trying to figure out what she wants out of life and also dealing with her feelings for one of the sons of the people who live in the rich family's house. I am butchering this summary. Anyway, you can kind of get the gist of it, and I'm sure if you've seen Sabrina yourself, you'll probably know the actual summary. The thing is, I enjoyed this book as a diversion because this was during the week when I was getting really stressed out. But other than that, like if I hadn't been reading to distract myself, I probably would have not finished it. It was cute, like it had its moments, but overall I just felt like everything was very underdeveloped. The characters were kind of more caricatures than actual characters. The pacing was really weird to me. I also just could not really love the romance, even though I liked the swoony moments, so that was kind of a disappointment for me because I was really looking forward to that one, and I ended up giving that one a 2 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was The Secrets of Wishtide by Kate Saunders, and this is a Letitia Rod mystery, and this is a really cute, cozy mystery. It's about a lady detective. She's trying to figure out something that has to do with the governess of a family who the son of the family is in love with the governess, but the father thinks that there's more to the governess's past than she's letting on. So that's the beginning of the mystery, but then it unravels into something a little bigger as the story progresses. And I thought this one was cute. I don't read a lot of mysteries, even cozy mysteries, but I really liked the characters in this one. It definitely gave me Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries vibes, and if you guys haven't seen that show, it's amazing. I loved it. But yeah, it was really cute. I wouldn't say that the characters are particularly memorable except for Letitia Rod herself, who definitely reminds me of Wrede. But other than that, I thought it was a really neat mystery. Like they tied up the very first mystery really well, and you kind of get insight into how Letitia operates as a lady detective. But it also leaves it open for more mysteries, which I think is really great. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I found it very diverting. I would recommend it to people who are sort of like me and new to mysteries, or who love Miss Fisher's murder mysteries. I thought that this would be like a fun book for you to check out. I ended up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess, and this is the first book in the Kingdom Burning trilogy. I think that's what it's called, or Kingdom on Fire trilogy. I don't remember at the moment. It's about a girl named Henrietta Howell, and she is actually the first female sorcerer in a very, very long time. And in this particular book, there is a they distinguish between sorcerers and magicians, because sorcerers do magic one way and magicians use a different method. And I thought this was really interesting. I liked the aspect of her being the only girl sorcerer, and I thought the little twists were interesting, but somehow it was just not as good as I thought it was gonna be. I think I found it a bit predictable. It reminded me of a lot of other fantasy books I read, especially with certain tropes, and I kind of guessed at certain things in it, which is part of the reason why I was a little bit, I think, less impressed than I would have been otherwise. I mean, it was enjoyable for what it was. This one was just okay. It was enjoyable at the time. I would say it's just okay now. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, I sort of have the same feelings towards, and that book is Fate of Flames by Sarah Raughley. And this one is about a girl named Maya, and she has actually been called to be one of the 4 effigies that protect the world from these phantoms, creatures that pretty much attack the world, obviously. And Maya is a fangirl for the effigies, but she doesn't realize like how much work and how much pressure it is to be one. And this book is both about her journey towards accepting her role as an effigy, and also about how she interacts with the other 3 effigies who she has to team up with in order to face this great evil that is threatening the entire world. And it's pretty fun. It does definitely give me Sailor Moon vibes, which is part of the comparisons that was given for it, and I think that part made it interesting. I liked that there were 4 effigies and they were pretty different girls, I think they were a little underdeveloped, but I feel like as the series progresses that may change. I think the story itself is very smart. It was really interesting and really fun, and even though I could guess at some of the twists, I didn't mind that too much. I am very curious to see how this one goes on, however, so I'd say I enjoyed this one a little bit more than the previous book I told you guys about, so this one I gave a 3.25 out of 5 stars. The next book I read is one that you will also see in a book haul, so slight spoiler for my book haul, but it is Scrappy Little Nobody by Anna Kendrick, and this is an autobiography written by Anna Kendrick. It does not tell the story of her entire life, it mostly tells, you know, snippets of it, like interesting tidbits, but I thought it was really, really fun. I love Anna Kendrick, and I think that's basically the reason why I love this book. Her voice comes across so well in her writing, and I think that's brilliant. I loved hearing more about her childhood, which I didn't really know about, and I think it was so fun to sort of see her grow up in the pages of this book. She's very honest, she's not afraid to tell it like it is, and I loved her voice in this book, and I think it was so great. I gave this one a 4.75 out of 5 stars. The next thing I did in November was binge read an entire series, and it's the first of 2 series that I binge read, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. So we have The Bone Season, the Mime Order, On the Merits of Unnaturalness, which is like a pamphlet that is mentioned in the book, and The Song Rising, which is the upcoming 3rd book that is out in March 2017. I will tell you a little bit about the first book. It's about well, she's not a girl. It's about a girl named Paige, and she is clairvoyant, and she lived in a time where clairvoyance is outlawed. It's considered evil, and people are always trying to exterminate clairvoyance. And unfortunately for Paige, she gets captured and taken to a sort of camp for clairvoyance run by creatures known as the Riffite. It's basically a camp located in the city of Oxford, and the story starts from there. There's a lot of things that happen in this first book, and it ends on a solid note. This book picks up where the first one left off, like right after it, but majority of this book is actually set in London and not Oxford, which is really cool, and you get to see a whole different side to the story. This is more about Paige's world before she was captured in the first book. This 3rd book is basically a result of everything that happens in the first 2, so I can't tell you too much about it, but it is incredible. Let me tell you why you should be reading the series. I think you should be reading The Bone Season because it is very different from anything I've ever read. It has this complex world that's so solidly built, and I find that so interesting. I really think the way that Samantha Shannon has categorized clairvoyance, the way she, you know, describes these different places, Oxford and London and wherever else that these characters go. I think she's so good at that because it really comes to life for me. I also really enjoy Paige as a main character because she's not perfect and she doesn't always make the best choices, but you can so see that she's so well intentioned and she does have a good head on her shoulders, and that really contributes to her being able to, you know, do the things she does and make the choices she does. And the secondary characters are just as wonderful. There are so many of them that I love. I love some of the 7 Seals, who are part of Paige's gang. I love Warden, who you will also meet in the book. And yeah, I think like there's a lot of thought that goes into crafting these books, and I think Samantha did a really great job. The one thing I will tell you is that the first one is a bit slow. The beginning does take a bit to get into because she kind of has to explain the entire world, but once it gets up and running, it is so good. So I give the first one a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I gave the second one a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I gave the third one a 4.75 out of 5 stars. As for this pamphlet, it's not actually required reading. I just thought it was really interesting because it expands on the world, it explains a bit more about each kind of clairvoyance, and it's just really cheeky and wonderful, and I just really enjoyed it. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. So I picked up a graphic novel that I've been curious about, and that is the Encyclopedia of Early Earth by Isabel Greenberg, and I really love the illustration style. I'll show you some of the end papers are really great, and you guys can see that. And I think that illustrations are really cool. So this is basically about 2 people who meet in the South Pole, and they fall in love, but they can't actually touch, and they can't figure out why. So they end up telling each other stories, and one of them, this guy in particular, happens to be a storyteller, and so he kind of chronicles the different stories that he's learned and his experiences, and you get to learn their story as well. And I thought that was really interesting. I liked the idea of it, and I liked the different stories. It just didn't 100% work for me. I thought it was creative, I thought it was clever, and I could see like certain influences that she might have had writing these stories. However, it just never really clicked for me as something that I thought was really like out of this world amazing, which is what I had been hearing. So I think it's partially the fault of having high expectations that I didn't love this one as much as I thought I would. I ended up giving this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the very last set of books that I have to show you is the second series that I will be finishing this November. I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through the 3rd book, and I can probably finish the 4th book tomorrow. But it is the Enchanted Forest Chronicles by Patricia C. Wrede, and the first book is Dealing with Dragons, the second book is Searching for Dragons, the 3rd book is Calling on Dragons, and the 4th book is Talking to Dragons. The first book, Dealing with Dragons, is about a princess named Cimarine, and she basically is not your typical princess, and she doesn't want to be married, so she decides that she's gonna go and find a way to be a dragon's princess so that she can have a respectable line of work, but also not have to marry anyone that her parents want her to marry. And that is the beginning of her adventure. I love Cimarine. I love her so much. I think she is so much fun to read about. I also really love the dragons in this book. They're so hilarious to me. And Cimarine also makes a few other acquaintances who I fell in love with. And I think like the story itself is very fun and tongue-in-cheek. It's got a lot of humor. The writer also has this like ability to weave fairy tale tropes into it and turn them on their head, which I thought was really fun and really cool. I gave this one a 4.75 out of 5 stars. Searching for Dragons is actually from the point of view of a boy called Mendenbar, and he is the king of the Enchanted Forest, and he's trying to figure out why there's a problem in the forest, and he actually learns from someone that the dragons may be involved, and so he goes to visit with the dragons only to discover that the king of dragons is actually missing. So he and Cimarine have to team up to find this king of dragons, and the adventure ensues from there. And I absolutely love this one. I think it's because I really love journey stories, journey fantasy stories, so I really had a soft spot for this one. I thought their adventures were so fun. I loved all the people they got to meet and the things they got to do, and I found a lot of this book really funny. And I ended up giving this one a 4.75 out of 5 stars as well. Those are all the books that I read in the month of November. It was quite a few, even though I was having a weird time reading. But anyway, if you guys have read any of these books and you have thoughts on them, I would love to hear them in the comments section. If you're interested in any of them or have any questions, you can leave those down below as well. And if you guys wanted to chat on any other social media, all of my links are down below. And I will see you guys with another video soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!